Welcome to the show. We're not ripping cards today. We're talking about Kurt's Card Care and this. Who was it? Well,
Tiffany card.
Tiffany Card's tweet that ultimately resulted in a PSA card getting deactivated.
Not a card. His whole submission was deactivated.
The whole submission.
His whole submission was deactivated. Lots of drama.
Yeah, let's get into it. So, first of all, I'm not really sure what to think about all this. I mean, look, how do cards get damaged? How do cards get written on? How do cards get, whatever? If any card that isn't in gem mint condition is altered, can we agree on that? Whether it's from bouncing around, whatever. But the notion that we're going to try and be the arbiters of was this intentionally changed versus we're okay if you roll over it with your chair in accident 20 years ago and then submit it and it's just a 2. You know what I mean? I'm not sure that we should be either you're not going to take it because it's altered, because I ran over it with my chair or my kid drove on it with a pen. I submitted a Charizard V-Star from the Sword and Shield Premium Collection. Got 2.5. Why did I get a 2.5? Because a child wrote on the back of it with pen. Now it's a $3, $5 card, whatever. But it got a 2.5. It didn't get an altered. So, it didn't get authenticated.
It really didn't get an altered?
No, it did not get a AA, which is with CGC, which is authenticated altered. It got a 2.5. And the card is in perfect condition, minus the pen, meaning they saw it. So, with that in mind,
here's what I'll say about that. When they saw it, PSA didn't know that the card was soaked. Whatever he did with his submission, they didn't know until someone called it out.
Yeah,
they gave their opinion before. They didn't see anything wrong with it up until someone pointed it out to them. I don't think the whole submission should have been deactivated. Simply because they gave that opinion, the opinion of what condition that card was in, before anyone called it out to them.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the point, right? Is that at the end of the day, are you accepting submissions of cards that aren't in gem mint perfect condition, what would be essentially packed to being shipped to them, or are you going to accept cards that have gone through a, differing series of life? Again, if it's written on, it's altered. It should be graded as altered. If it's been, rolled over with a chair, it's been altered. It is out of its original state and beyond what would be reasonably considered wear and tear life of a card of just being kept as is. And there's no way at that point, again, if a card is creased, there is no way to determine at that point of receiving it, was this intentional or was this not? They're not forensic scientists or, investigators. They're graders. And they can't determine what actually happened. So to say that, oh, he soaked it, they look at it, they see, if all they see is a card that doesn't seem like it was, intentionally altered, well, then that's what it is. It doesn't matter if it went through a restoration effort. I think that this is an absolute joke. And if you start deactivating cards like this, then you need to start deactivating a lot of cards and a lot of submissions.
Because it's not like Kurt's the only one doing it.
It's not
he
like
sells a product. Tons of people do it.
Right.
How are they going to go and determine who did it and who didn't?
Right.
Other than being called out by it.
Right. What you're going to have to get rid of 1s, you're going to have to get rid of 2s, 3s, 4s, 5, because all of that damage to those cards, all those alterations to those cards, you have no idea whether they were intentional or not. If I walked into PSA and said, hey, I really want to get a 1, and I start folding up the card, and then I hand it to them and say, here you go, is this enough to get a 1? They're going to say, we're not grading that. You're intentionally altering it. But what is the difference if I do it in my own home and then submit it to them? Because guess what? I've submitted some cards that had some crazy creases in them that I'm like, They're probably just going to say that I altered it. They didn't. They gave me a 1.5. They gave me a 3. Whatever it was. I've never gotten something back as authentic altered, except for at times when people have, before I receive the card, because I generally don't actually clean my Pokemon cards because I'm not trying to damage them. I've gotten like, oh, this has cleaning wax on or whatever, which I don't even own, which is fine.
We didn't see until they came back from grading and
But
they
then they come
circled
back.
the spots.
And they circle the spots on,
and then we see it.
report.
We see the wax on it.
Yeah. And so, and it's just silly to say that they're going to suddenly start being the arbiters of, did you do this on purpose or did you not do this on purpose? Like, you take the card, grade the card, send it back to the person who paid you to grade it with the grade that is representative of the condition that the card was in when you received it. Now, if people are trimming cards and blah, 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 look, somebody said it best on Instagram. Mark McGwire taking a shower before his game is different than Mark McGwire taking steroids before his game. One, he's cleaning himself, and the other, he's altering himself. No one's upset that Mark McGwire took a shower. They're upset that he took steroids. So, yes, altering is, I think, in its truest form when you're talking about altering versus restoring, which is an entirely separate bucket.
I think the issue with Kurt's card, like the argument people are making is, I think soaking it was a bit much. Granted, you can't
Cards get wet. Cards get wet, and we submit them.
I don't think he's soaking it in water though. I think he's soaking.
No, he's soaking it in a solution. But my point is that you can submit cards that got wet.
Yeah, you're right.
Those got soaked in water or beer or whatever the heck else that some 6-year-old spilled their Kool-Aid on. Whatever.
Even other than the soaking, the argument is, just say it's polished, for example. Whether or not it adds for scuffs, if it adds or removes portion of the hollow around that scratch for it to be buffed out. I guess buffed out, is that what polish does? The issue with arguing that the polish removes or adds a layer of whatever the polish is made out of, there's no testing that's been done. If you make that claim that the polish is adding or removing anything, you need proof, because it could just be cleaning that card. It could just be moving that or cleaning that card and not removing anything. If then that test is done, will everyone that is claiming that his polish is removing or adding a layer to that card, are they going to revoke that statement if it does come back that it is just cleaning the card? That's the big one that I'm seeing other than the soaking. It is his polish.
Yeah.
I don't know what you have to say about polish, but
my stance on polish is everyone needs to stop being such a freaking baby. Send the card in.
I feel like if it was removing stuff, it would make much more of a difference.
Yeah, I don't know.
Again, we can't say I can't give an opinion on whether or not it's wrong, because I have no information to say whether or not it removes or adds or does or cleans it. These claims that are being made, they don't have a base. They don't have a base as to whether or not it's actually altering the card or not. It's just an assumption. Honestly, at this point, it's an assumption. If it does come back and it does remove a layer or adds a layer, then that's right. Everyone is right about it altering the card, but nothing has been done to show that. Not a single person that has made that claim has shown that that's what it does.
Right, and at the end of the day, when you pull a giant card and you're yelling like it's gross, but a little bit of saliva might hit the card, what are you supposed to do? You're just supposed to send the card as is? Oh, well,
I will say you can wipe that stuff off with just a wet, like water, soap, whatever.
Well, you're cleaning it.
Damn. Facts. No, wait, because you're allowed to clean it. You're not allowed to alter it.
But that's the point. they're now deciding that cleaning solution is an issue.
I don't know what the solution
What was the
is.
point of soaking it? To clean the stains off of it.
Was that?
He's cleaning it. Yes, I think so. I think I saw that one where he was soaking it, where there were stains in it, and he was getting those removed.
Now that I think about like soaking it, I don't think soaking it is removing any part of that card. It's certainly not adding anything.
It's not removing. It's not adding. I think PSA is being a bunch of babies, to be honest with you.
I do think that they need to reactivate it because they didn't know until someone said something about it.
Yeah, if you graded those cards, I'm sorry. The only reason I can think of, and don't quote me on this, to start deactivating cards is if there's evidence, and when I say evidence, I'm talking about a conviction that that card was stolen. I'm not talking about, oh, he said, she said. I'm talking about somebody reported to the police, it went to trial, or they took a deal, and it was like, this is stolen property. And the person can come back and say, hey, I didn't want this graded, deactivate it. Or of course, they cracked it and let them know. But other than that, why would in the world would PSA have the gall to take your money, grade your card, take up your valuable time of that money that's invested in those cards that you could invest elsewhere or could give to a different grading company, grade it, and then come back and say, oh, somebody said something mean about your cards or you, and boom, it's gone. Like, PSA honestly needs to be 6 feet under at this point anyway. This is just further evidence of the unchecked arena of grading where they can do whatever they want. They can upcharge you, they can do whatever, and all those people, and the reason why PSA is still in business is because of the people who don't grade with PSA, who've been convinced that it's the gold standard. That's why it's in business, not the people who grade with. The people who grade with PSA only grade with PSA is because of the market. But nobody likes PSA. And PSA, if you're watching, which I know you're not,
Fuck them.
seriously, what are you doing? I'm going to roll over a card with my chair and send it to you, and you're going to grade it. Because you're not going to care whether or not I did it on purpose or didn't do it on purpose. You'd only care if I did it in front of you. That makes no sense. None. Pick a lane. I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Fuck PSA.